Jay from Team DMA. So welcome back to the channel. We're gonna be touching up on today on the Dark Magician, and you guessed it, the Dark Magician profile and Sam's video. I think CJ posted it on the Discord, and to me, it's not really surprising. I mean, the fact that they even included it, because I would say like 95% of the channels don't even include Dark Magician in the tier list because it's no good. So people are wondering or why is it not even included in those? Like, it doesn't even make it to side events. If you see this whole video, like, go to Team Samurai, which is Sam. Me personally, I've always trusted his Dark Mission profiles because he's always done them close to the AC 130. So I introduced the profile in 2019, but it actually came out on YouTube where you can see it back in 2020. And then 2021, it was being worked on. By 2022, the deck was already solid. And around that time, I think around 2022, the beginning of 2022, Sam started making Dark Mission profiles and he started doing them. I always message him on the comment section and give him tips and tricks. Anybody that plays Dark Mission, I usually do that. And especially if there's someone who's leading the community, because I want them to give them solid, good advice so they win. So he started doing Dark Magician Floodgates, which is the AC 130. And his variants actually went a little too much Floodgates. Like, I think he had some decks where he had like 12. I think that's too much, in my opinion, because that's no longer like Dark Magician. It's just all Floodgates. Nobody's doing nothing, not even you. But the AC 130 is a perfect balance, similar to the one that Loza is trying for the Master Duel. It's more like that. It's only about anywhere 5 or less floodgates, and then 1 or 2 of them are like negate. Like, you can have, like, for example, something else. For a good example would be like Dark Bribe, or you could have something like a Solemn Strike, Solemn Judgment, or just a regular lineup of the Eternal, maybe with the Ice Dragon Prison. But we already know most of those cards speed and what I love to call is requirement cards. They don't meet the requirements always, and you have to listen to the people who are winning their championships, like the World Championship First Place YCS Nationals, and they use the terminology of whether they want to call it like a high impact card, or um, if the card is actually of use. And the reason what's going on is that card now might touch up a high percentage. So what do I mean by that, Jay? What do you mean by touch up? Can you be more specific? Well, let's say, for example, I were to enter a Dark Magician deck. If you play Super Poly with Garura, you'll be hitting a lot of these decks. But when you go to the top tier 1 style, some of them can actually dodge the Super Poly. So having the Super Poly at 3 might not be a good idea, because you're going to notice you have the Super Poly, but there's no targets. Because believe it or not, there's a lot of decks that don't get hit by Poly. If you don't believe it, then I don't know who you're playing, because you're supposed to be playing against the whole world, right? Not just your friends. And if you're playing your friends, it's fine, but I'm just talking about the competitive aspect. Like, you're playing against the world. So having that said, the question here is why is it so low ranking? Why is it not put on the map? Why is it being made fun of? So the reason for that, the answer is actually very simple. So we are going to be moving to explanation of why the Dark Mission deck, the fact that Sam included it in the list was good, but we need to put it on the map. So let's take a look at what's the real issue with the Dark Magician deck in the popular, because you have to remember the issue with the Dark Magician is the popular build. And you're like, what's the popular? What everyone's playing. That is the issue. People need to go away from what's popular. And you're like, why? Because what's popular is not working. If you continue on that route, what's going to happen is it's never going to be on the list of nobody because it's popular to lose. And the phrasing should open your mind like, what? The profile I'm playing is the one that's popular to lose? Yep. That's how smart you are. You're playing the profile that will never win duels. Now, I'm trying to bring people to the other side, the one that wins duels. So we're going to take a look at one of the reasons why the popular Dark Magician build. And basically, if 10 people play Dark Magician, 10 people are playing this version. And there's a lot of people that love to lie. When they say I go to the channel, one or two things happens. One of them, their videos are rigged, so they're not playing against any tier 1, tier 0 decks. And the other ones, they don't have any videos. Excuse me. So both of them are in the same boat, which is they can't really win any duels against really powerful decks because they don't need an opponent. Their deck breaks and sucks so much that they lose themselves. They don't need an opponent. They lose by themselves. Their own hand, their own profile kills them themselves. They destroy themselves. So let's move over to what I wanted to discuss about and what's the real issue with the hidden issue. And once you see it, everyone's like, yeah, it's true, you know? They're going to have to admit it. So we're going to pause it and move on to that side of the video. So here we are. This is the issue. This is the issue why the Dark Magician, they can't climb up to the ranking and see any competitive play. Now, they do seem to win the locals, but I've told people for years, the locals doesn't mean nothing when it comes to world champion. Anybody can win their locals, but once you already go into regionals, a different story. There's a lot of people that, even myself, that have topped the locals, and when you go to regionals, I haven't gone to nationals, but when you go like to regionals, you can't even get past 100. It's tough. It's tough because everyone there is usually all the people that top the locals. So you're one, and you have like another 2,000 that are just like you. They top their locals, and you notice topping locals isn't special anymore. You're like, oh, okay, I'm not special. Yep, you're just common. You're just like everybody else. Everyone there is the same like you, but their deck is more broken. So they might be wondering, so how do I do it to increase my win rate or go higher up in the rank so that we can put Dark Magician in the map? Well, one of the first things, the Dark Magician community already listened to me. There's a lot of things that the Dark Magician community is starting to listen after 4 or 5 years and pretty soon 6 years, and you're going to start seeing results. One of the first ones is minimizing the number of hand traps because the Dark Magician deck has a break issue big time because of the synergy and the support is not sufficient to keep the deck running properly or efficient like a top tier deck should. So what you have to do is the Dark Magician becomes broken up into this super complicated deck which you have to maneuver similar to the Bestial Runic. A lot of people are trying the profile and nobody's winning with it. So they're saying like, oh, this profile sucks. No, actually you suck. The profile is good. It's good enough to win a world champion. So you're wondering like, how come it is that when I play the same deck, I can't win any duels, but when Josh Smith plays it, he wins the championship? Here's the answer, because he has a top tier deck, but he is also a top tier duelist. Remember what I taught you guys. The pilot matters a lot. He matters 50%. 50% is the deck and 50% is the pilot. When both of the pilots are, when the deck is at 100% and the duelist, the pilot is at 100%, the deck is good enough to win regionals, nationals, or at least top. But when the deck is like less than 100% and the pilot is less than 100%, then yep. So some people might be already getting a Dark Magician, excellent profile, but because they lack a good pilot, they keep changing the deck. Have you ever noticed that players, especially Dark Magician players, every 6 hours to 24 hours, they're changing their deck, and you're wondering, why do they change it so much? The answer is this: because they lose that many times. They're never satisfied because they can never win. And if they win against like rogue decks. So that's why they're changing their deck. They're always changing their deck to win, but they can never find the win because it's not a deck issue. It's the pilot. The pilot doesn't know what he's doing. So in that case, as harsh as this may sound, it's better for you to go move on to another deck that you're better suited. Dark Magician is not for you. Now, for people who don't want to leave Dark Magician and love it in their heart from the childhood and they got nostalgia, that's why I exist and my channel. So what I do is it's not feeling based, like based, thought based, nothing like that. It's just win rate and that's it. Everything else is not important. So in order for the power of the Dark Magician to be increased, you have to test it against these cards. So in Master Duel, you have the Maxi, but there's some cards that are not in TCG, like Maxi and such. So these cards are going to be utilized against you, and you're going to have to walk through them. You're going to have to stomp them out. And when you do that, the win rate will start going up the charts. You start moving up, because a lot of these cards that you see here on this image, all it takes is one card of these cards to be played and you lose in the top tier Dark Magician deck. And I've been teaching for 5 years in a row. That means you're a fake Dark Magician player, because you don't know how to play it. So you have to test it at your home and on the online. Once you're good on your home and the online, go to your locals, go to regionals, go nationals, and the same exact thing is going to play out, and you're going to be able to walk through it. But what people are doing is they're lying to themselves, lying to the community. They don't test nothing, and then when they go to locals, they get negated by everything and don't win any duels. So they're finding out that they suck and their deck sucks when they're at an event, a waste of time. What you're supposed to be doing is what world champions do. They test their deck prior to going to an event. So that's what I do. All of my decks are tested. So I take Maxi, I take an Abiru, I take the Draw, I take the Infinite, and I take everything, the Gamma, everything you see here, I take it. And then once I can walk through it all, then I know I'm good. And then all the top tier decks become trash because I'm unaffected by the cards. So I'm going to pause it for a bit, and then we're going to recap quickly on what are some solutions. And then we're going to go back into the, what's it called? And to the tier list and talk a bit about it and then end the video. So if you can remember the hand traps, there's a long line of hand traps. So the current state of the Dark Magician, what happens is they play one Ash, you lose. They play one Draw, you lose. Essentially anything they play, you lose. They destroy the Eternal Soul, you lose. And what's going on is you lose. And then the fake Dark Magician community will tell you summon Dragoon and you win. And then you summon Dragoon like they tell you, and then they destroy Dragoon or they out him fast, and then you lose again. So what I'm teaching the community is something called the AC 130. So what happens is you no longer need Dragoon, you no longer need Eternal, you no longer need this, you no longer need that. And then on top of that, the hand traps have no effect on you because you walk through them. They can play a Draw, let them play an Ash, they can play whatever they want. It doesn't affect you. You still do what you want. And that's what the AC 130 does. So when that happens, the Dark Magician starts moving to the right. And it starts beating all of these decks. And then it moves to one top at the events. And then you can beat all those decks. And maybe a few tops. And then you can beat those. And then can definitely top. And then you'll go into the rank of world majority top. Which means they're always there. They're always at the top 4, top 5, top 6, even top 8 always. And what you have to do to the Dark Magician deck is one of the things that I show. Let me go and see a video really quick so you guys can check it out real quick. So here's the video. So this video is the one for the undefeated Blue Eyes, but you can target any of the actual YCS champion decks that I've dueled before, and any of the tier 1 or tier 0 style decks that can establish 10 even more negates and interruptions per turn. And what happens is the Dark Magician deck is played just like every deck that exists, is in 2 formats. The first one is going first, and then the second one is going second. The second one is going for board breakers. So I play 2 Regekis, 2 Dark Ruler No More, 2 Lightning Vortex, and I keep forgetting the other 2 cards because the other 2 I always side them out for various different cards. Like they could be cards to take your opponent's monster, and I always forget about the other two, but they're all basically the same thing, which is going second, and they're all about blowing up your opponent. And off the top of the head, like I said, I know for sure I do the two Dark Ruler, two Raigeki, two Vortex, and there's two other cards, and they can't come to my mind right now. But what happens here is you do the rod, the circle. So you might be a Ash, but that doesn't matter because the deck is going to combo up into drawing into the deck. You're going to be walking through all the hand traps, even a draw, because even through a draw, you have to know your Dark Magician cards. So if you know them like throughout, depending if they hit you with the Ash or they hit you with the draw, or it doesn't matter what they hit you with, the deck course, the course of the deck and the combos change. Like if they hit me with the draw, the deck changes to the draw format. If they hit me with the Ash, it changes to the Ash format. If they don't hit me with anything, well, it's open field. And the deck has that type of power. So as you can see here with the cards that I have, even if he were to hit me with the draw or Ash, none of that matters because the board's going to be frozen. I'm going to be vanishing. Now, another thing about the Dark Magician deck, you want to have a setup ready because you don't have Dragoon. You need an Omni Negate. So Dragoon, what he does is he stops a spell trap or a spell trap or monster effect, right? And he can negate it and it can pop. But sometimes you don't have access to the Dragoon all of the time, like 100% of the time. So what I do is I build the deck and it brings out the same exact effect as Dragoon, but it's not Dragoon. It comes out in the shape of a mixture of spell and trap, which is the actual deck. So when they hit you with Shifter or Deep Barrier, those cards don't affect you as well. And then they're going to hit you with like, what's it called? Evenly matched. That doesn't affect you. Nothing affects you. Now, there's going to be some oddball times that you're not going to have full protection on the board from everything, and you're going to get your board wipe, as you're going to see right now. And instead of crying about it, you just deal with it. So this line of play was including hand trap, but since there was no hand trap, we played everything together. You could already have made a Dragoon, but I chose not to. So this deck gives you the ability to either do it or not. It's up to you. And I didn't want to because I wanted to go deeper into the deck. Because the deeper into the deck I go, like once I reach close to 20 cards left in my deck, my board's going to be fully established with multiple negations and interruptions. So you take the feather and that blows your whole field up. So the opponent has a lot of broken cards. He has Evenly Storm, he has a bunch of broken cards. So now that it's our second turn and they already blow up our field, we're going to establish the field exactly like we had it, plus now we're going to fill up negations and interruptions on the board. Because by your second turn, you should already have a bunch of negations and interruptions. You want to do it on your first turn, but you know, the deck is not like tier 0 format, which is consistent. Like, it can do it all the time. It can't do it. It does it somewhere around 90 to 95%. So if you can't do it on your first turn, you're going to want to try to do it on your second. And that's what we're going for right now. Special. Activate. We're going to establish everything we had all over again. Ultra Combo! Spellbook Engine. So the Spellbook Engine is the substitute for the Max C, because in TCG there's no Max C, so you can draw a lot of cards with Spellbook. So it's the same thing. The same thing you saw Loza play, this is the same deck. And it's called the AC-130, was created in 2019, but it was more or less perfected early 2021. Got the board now. Special combo. Trigger, activate, send. Trigger, special search. Omni. So here, we could have gone into the board and set up quite a board to break. But like I said, sometimes when I play, all I want to do is go deep into the deck because I want to establish a lot of negations. and interruptions, because sometimes your opponent is playing like a tier 1, tier 0 style, which basically he can out anything you can put out. He can out it. So in this board right now, all the monsters that come out, they are going to be switched to defense. Nobody can attack, and they can't target the Tryhard. So if they were to try to play Storm or anything like that, or another Feather or whatever they try to play, we have the Omni Negate active already with Circle Eternal, making the Circle Eternal actually broken. Now it does something. It's not like before. So if they play some spells, like it doesn't matter what they play, you can decide to Omni Negate it. If you want to let it go, let it play. But if they play something dangerous, trigger the Eternal, you'll be able to banish, and then the right hand will negate the card. And we have Bestial backed up in the back. We're going to set a card face down. We're going to go ahead and banish it already. And we can Omni Negate. But since he had ended his turn, I didn't really care. Another card that is required for you to be like the tier 1 style decks, the one that you saw that they had at the very top of the profile, there was like 3, and one of them Rescue Us. You're going to need cards that can break the back row at any time, because a lot of decks are back row heavy together with what's it called? Special Summon, Omni Negates, Spam board. So you need to get rid of the front row, and you're going to need to get rid of the back row simultaneously at the same time. Sometimes before they can even trigger an effect. Here we go. Full power, AC 130. He didn't care because he could stop the board. But it's too late now. There is no card he can play throughout this board no more. All of the cards are garbage to you. You haven't even used Norion Dragoon. And in case you're thinking like I'm lying or something, we're gonna look at his graveyard. And then his graveyard, there's the banish, and then there's the graveyard. So we have Feather. We could have Omni Negated, but I chose not to because I wanted to draw. And then, so essentially, the what is it called? The skill break or break skill, that's useless. And then the Feather becomes useless. The Dropless becomes useless. The what's that card called there? The Evenly Match is useless. And the Super Poly is all useless. And it doesn't matter if the card says your opponent can't respond. The board can respond to anything, regardless of what the card says. Like I said, it can say your opponent can't respond. That doesn't matter. You can respond. The AC 130 was created for the future. You're already waiting for the cards. It's not like you're being surprised. They're not going to surprise you. The only thing that's going to be a surprise is to them when you negate the cards that say that you can't respond to them. So you might be wondering, like, what the heck is this board? Like, what the heck is going on? I'm going to reveal to you guys something that you guys haven't realized. So I created Magia before it existed. And people are going to be wondering, he's lying. Okay, Magia says in the effect, it says negate 1 spell per turn, and then 1 trap. And then it says it can negate a monster, right? So you can do all 3 in a turn. Is that not correct? So look at the board. So the 1 Omni spell is the right hand. And then the 1 Omni trap is an Arito. And then the Dragoon does the Omni effect of the monster. So I've been having Magia, but this one's even more broken because on top of Magia, any monsters you summon go to defense and you can't trigger, you can't attack, and then you can't target, what's it called? The Tryhard. And then on top of that, people forget that I still have in my hand the Twin Twister to do a double pop. And on top of all of that, like if that wasn't enough, there's already too much going on. If that wasn't enough, you have the Circle Eternal for banish. So when you start counting it, so we're gonna start from the left to the right. So we have the right hand with the Omni, which you saw stop cards that can't be stopped. So that's 1, Dragoon, 2, And then the effect of or try hard, that's 3 for the interruptions, and it's for all of their cards. And then you got 4 with Naruto, and then 5. You have 5 with the circle. We can include them both or separate. 5 with the circle eternal, the banish, and then 6 with the bestial engine, because it's gonna start up as soon as you play that. As soon as you play that Magnama or Magna Hut, it'll trigger, and the bestial engine is gonna start working for you. And that's 6. And we include the double pop of the twin twister, so it'll pop 2 cards, so that's 2 interrupts, so it's about 8. So this is going to be every turn, because the deck is going to be drawing more, and when you draw, the deck is going to draw more, establish more negates and more interruptions. The board never leaves. Like, it's not like playing hand traps. Hand traps is you have it all for 1 turn, but your opponent survives, they can beat you, and that's what happens in the first place nationals and regionals. It's a one-time use, and cards go to the graveyard. This version of the deck, the cards don't go nowhere. They're in the field forever. They're forever. They're there. The only thing that's happening is each turn that you're going into the next turn, it's establishing more negates and more interrupts. And the deck has already been tested. And like I said, it can do 6 negates and 6 interruptions for a maximum of 12. When Magia comes into this deck, I'm going to put a fusion tag, and that's going to give me 3 extra. And the 12 plus the 3, I'm going to be at 15 negates and interrupts per turn. Now, people are going to be saying, but you won't be able to establish it all the time. I'll probably be able to establish 6 to 8 consistently, because as it is, I can already consistently establish three negations or 3 interruptions, 3 negations, 3 interruptions. I average somewhere around anywhere from 3 to 6, and at some points doing 8, like you saw right now. At the point, it doesn't matter what my opponent has. He can have all the broken cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! None of them can help him. Kaiju, no matter what he does, it won't help him, because when he triggers the effect, it just triggers my Eternal Circle. And I have cards face down, usually in the back, set up together with like a Skill Drain and the Bribe, the Village. And then there's a lot of other combos. And then I also have the ability of the Link monsters. And those I have triple pop, 4 pop, and 6 pops. So all of that combined with this. So when you look at it all, it can go past 13 negations and interruptions. It goes higher than that. And when you start noticing, you're like, what the heck? It's a trip. So the funny thing is that it doesn't have any powerful cards. They're all budget. And all I wanted to do was show the community. The Dark Magician deck is super broken. You guys are just playing the popular version, which is the weakest one. And we're going to pause the video and go back to... the tier list. So these profiles that you see here, they're trash to the AC-130, all of them. The only deck that I've been telling people straight up for the last, 2-3 months, and I just made a video recently, like 2-3 weeks ago, is the Rescuers. That's the only one that's very, very, very tough to beat. It's like a 50-50 for me. And the reason for that is because it's just broken. So the version that I play against is the Rescuers Diabell Star with Horus Engine, and they actually play about 4 to 6 negation boards with the Baronne, and there's a lot of stuff going on, and their board ends up with like 8 interruptions and negations, a mixture. And even if you break their board, even if you break the back, it's just hard to out it. And people are going to say, yeah, but Josh beat it. Yeah, well, Josh beat one of the weaker versions, because the stronger one is the one that has triple engines, and there's one that has 4 engines in it. And that's not even the strongest deck. The strongest deck is a tier 0, the Rap Adapter. That one, all of the cards, there's 40 cards in the deck, they're all 1-card combos, and they can do 13 negates per turn and interruptions. And people haven't even heard of it. And that's how much of the Dark Magician community is. Like, they have no clue what's really going on. So we're gonna just a real quick recap. I told you guys what the issue is, the bricks, and then I taught you that you guys have to go through all the hand traps. Don't trust on Dragoon, trust on the Dark Magician and the deck how it should be. Dragoon should be a cherry on the top. Good job to Loza, because he learned how to pilot the Dark Magician in the Master Duel, Now you guys have to transition that into the TCG. So the deck is going to have the Dragoon without having the Dragoon, or it's going to have Magia without having Magia. And then you put on the cherry on top, Dragoon on top of everything. So then when your opponent plays all these hand traps, they don't affect you. All of these board breakers, they don't affect you either. And then you stop their combos, and then you start going up the ranks here. You smoke all of these decks till you go to the very top. And like I said myself, the only deck that I'm having trouble, and I stated myself before anybody else did, was Rescue Ace. And the version, like I said, that I've gone, that's the most broken, is the Rescue Ace, Diablo Star, Horus. And they also utilize a lot of the synchros, and they're all Omni Negates. So that one is a super hyper broken, ugly, very nasty deck. And hopefully this video was helpful. Hopefully you understood more about the Dark Magician, and I hope that people will continue to go away from the popular build, which it's so popular that it loves to lose, and move on into a better profile of the Dark Magician, which is more complicated. It has better synergy, better in and outs to everything, and then you can put the cherry on the top of all the cards. Another card that you want to include, because this video can last for 3 hours, but a card that's definitely, the more you sleep on it, the more you lose, is Elia. Start bringing it into the deck, and I'm going to show you guys the combo with it. I'm going to show you the 3, the 4, and the 6 pop combo. Put it all into the deck, and guarantee you will be breaking everyone's teeth. You're going to be breaking all of these. You guys are going to be topping. And I wouldn't say it's the world's most powerful, but I can say it could definitely smoke these decks. The only deck that it struggles with is Rescue Ace. But if you go first, it treats it like trash. It's only when you go second that's a bit of a problem. And then the other thing before I end the video is playing the profile in 2 versions. You guys have to learn. There's one profile for going first, which is no hand traps, all speed, and then the second one is board breakers, and you can play hand traps. And that's it for the video. If you guys have any questions or concerns, let me know. Let's put Dark Magician back in the map, and let's win more duels, you guys. And shout out to Sam for putting Dark Magician on the board. And it's time for the whole community to put Dark Magician up in the ranking of the tier list. And with that having been said, you guys, God bless, take care, and Dark Magic Attack.